This is in the District Court of Butler County, Kansas, case entitled State of Kansas versus Jody Lee McKinsey. It's case number 2021 CR 465. Jody McKinsey appears from the Sallyport location at the Butler County Judicial Center. Michael Page appears by separate Zoom, as does prosecuting attorney Brett Sweeney. This matter comes before the court at this time for sentencing. Court's docket notes would indicate that the defendant appeared on May the 9th. And then at that time, she entered a guilty plea to an amended count 1, possession of methamphetamine, a level 3 drug felony. Court ordered a pre-sentence report and set sentencing for today. Court has received a pre-sentence investigation report compiled by Christine Donovan, pre-sentence investigator from Court Services, who is present on this meeting with us. I trust each attorney has received a copy of this report, and I'll ask the state's attorney first. Mr. Sweeney, is there any objection to the criminal history which is stated in this report?
No, Your Honor.
Any objection by the defense, Mr. Page?
No, Judge.
Very well. The court will adopt the criminal history as stated in the report and finds that the criminal history score applicable to today's sentencing is criminal history score C, and the court will proceed further accordingly.
Judge, I'm sorry. I think the second report came out and had it as an E. So that was one I thought we were talking about. I'm sorry.
That's correct, Your Honor. That's the one I had assumed we were speaking about as well.
Ms. Donovan? Okay.
Yes, Judge. I'm sorry. I did submit a second PSI that was corrected. The criminal history was corrected because I had received court records that day, which in effect changed criminal history. So it is criminal history score E, and I emailed that on Monday, July 3rd.
All right. What was the material change to the original criminal history, Ms. Donovan?
So, Your Honor, a prior PSI had indicated that she had a domestic battery conviction in Lyon County. It was number 19 on the criminal history. It was a person misdemeanor. I received those records late from Lyon Emporia Municipal Court, actually, indicating that it was uncounseled. There was no waiver regarding that domestic battery. Therefore, I was unable to score it, and that in effect changed criminal history because 3 person misdemeanors had been converted previously to make it a person felony. So when that was subtracted, that changed criminal history.
All right. I trust, Mr. Sweeney, that you agree with Ms. Donovan's analysis of the criminal history in this case.
Yes, Your Honor, I would agree with that.
And therefore, counsel will need to, at least on the court's version here, I'm going to need to adjust the potential ranges of time that could be imposed from 3 drug C to 3 drug E. So the sentencing range would be 55, 59, or 62.
That's correct,
Yes.
Your Honor.
Very well. Based on the court services officer's announcement and the agreement of counsel, the court will show that the proper criminal history in this score is not C, it is rather E, or the sentencing range of 55, 59, or 62 months. Court will proceed further. All right, with that correction now made, Mr. Sweeney, are you aware of any legal reason why sentence should not be pronounced in this case here this morning?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Page, I'm in receipt of your motion for departure. So are you aware of any legal reason why the court should not proceed further with this McKinsey sentencing?
No, Judge.
Ms. McKinsey, are you aware of a legal reason or any other good reason why the court should not proceed further with your sentencing here today?
Not that I know of.
Or proceed further then? As mentioned earlier, there has been a motion for a departure sentence filed by the defense. It is entitled Motion for Downward Dispositional Departure, filed by Mr. Page, or at least submitted by Mr. Page to the court this morning. It consists of many pages, which the court is now familiar with. Mr. Sweeney, have you had an opportunity to familiarize yourself with the motion for a departure sentence?
I have, Your Honor, that was emailed to me this morning. I guess I would also note for purposes of moving forward today that part of the plea agreement in this case is that the state would stand silent on any departure motion. So it doesn't really change the calculus as far as the state's argument one way or another. We're ready to proceed as long as the court is.
Very well. All right, Mr. Page, you may proceed further on your motion for a departure sentence.
Thank you, Judge. Judge, most of what I have is in the motion itself. I understand that Ms. McKinsey does have some history. Most of it is drug related. She has taken responsibility, and this case has dragged on for quite some time. Part of that, I don't know if intentional is the right word, but at least wanted to try to get the best deal we could, but also try to give her time to do as many good things as possible. And I think what she has done is exemplary, really, that she's done recently here in the last year while this case has been pending. Judge, basically, she's working full time. She has been submitting UA. She's been clean. She's not had any slip ups. She did inpatient treatment through Valley Hope last fall. She completed that. She's been doing outpatient ever since. I talked with her this morning. She actually got the certificate that she has completed outpatient treatment now. She has been on probation in Lyon County. Lyon County granted her probation, and my understanding is it's somewhat set up like it's not drug court, but it's kind of like drug court, where she's focuses on doing treatment, doing things like that. Part of the exhibits that we filed with the court are from her officer, her correctional officer at the 5th Judicial Department of Community Corrections, and then another officer there who's not really on her case, but just kind of knows about it. And I don't know that we could get a more glowing report of how she's been doing. And there's a couple, but one is from just a week ago. So basically, she's continued to do cognitive thinking classes and groups. She's done her treatment. I think another important thing, Judge, is this was kind of rock bottom for Miss McKinsey. She, while this and other cases were going on, she lost her children to state custody. She has gone through a child needed care case. She now has the kids back with her full time. She jumped through every hoop the DCF would have her jump through for a good reason. But she's done really everything she can to just show that she's got a stable life. She's a good influence on her kids now. She's working, she's sober, and she's, even from when I first met her to where she is now, and she's been like this for the last several months. I mean, she just looks much healthier. She's happier. She feels better about herself. Everything seems like it's going really well. So we would just ask that the court grant the dispositional departure to probation. We believe there's substantial and compelling reasons. She's happy to continue with, and I'm sure she's going to continue with treatment and classes and having her sponsor. That being said, I think she's done a good job to the point where I think it would just be a setback for her, and it be in the best interest of her and society, really, to have a sober, healthy, good parent out there. And I think if the court decides to send her to do time, I think it's just going to take her right back to square one, and she's not going to have any supervision or anything like that, much supervision, once she's out, and not have it would just put her right behind 8 ball again. I think it's best for her and for society if the court grants probation, gives her a shot to continue and say, hey, if you're serious about what you've been doing, you've done a great job. If you're serious, keep it up. But if you mess it up, then you're going to prison. I think that makes more sense than just sending her to do time. And so, again, Judge, I haven't had a client that has done really this well on bond job and child needed care case and treatment and doing well on probation. I haven't had anybody that's done this well, and I'm very proud of her. And I just asked the court to adopt or grant our dispositional departure to probation.
Very well, Mr. Page. Do you have anything else to present in support of the motion for departure at this time?
Nothing besides what we've already attached to it. No.
All right. Mr. Sweeney earlier announced that he would be remaining silent when it comes to the departure motion. So the court will conclude the departure motion aspect of the case at this time. Move on and ask, are there any victims and members of a victim's family present who desire to address the court in relation to this sentencing? Court finds no such persons present. So at this time, I will ask for formal recommendations from counsel regarding an appropriate sentence, beginning with Brett Sweeney on behalf of the state of Kansas.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, pursuant to the plea agreement, the state would be recommending the standard mid-box 59 months in the Department of Corrections. The defendant would be eligible for a maximum good time percentage of 20%. She would also have, I think it's correct, 36 months of post-release supervision. She doesn't have any jail time credit that would be awarded towards the underlying or balance of this case. The state is not requesting a fine pursuant to the plea agreement. We are requesting the cost of the action. There was a KVI laboratory report that was completed. We're seeking $400 in restitution. I believe Mr. Page is, I'm positive that Mr. Page is retained. Again, we're standing silent on departure. I would note that there is a special rule that's marked number 10 on page 6, and that's that Miss McKinsey was on felony bond, I believe, in Greenwood County case 21 CR 34. That's one of 2 unresolved distribution cases that she has over there in Greenwood County. But you know, those are still unresolved. I would also note that she, pursuant to statute, would be a registered offender on this case for a period of, I believe, 15 years. I think that was ordered to commence at the plea hearing, but if it has not, I would ask the court to address that again, of course, as part of sentencing. I don't think I have anything beyond that, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Sweeney. Mr. Page, your recommendations regarding an appropriate sentence?
Thank you, Judge. Judge, just to address what Mr. Sweeney was saying, she did sign up for the registering as the drug offender after the plea hearing, so that's good. Judge, we're just asking that you would grant her the probation for the standard or what the recommend or the standard, whatever it is in the box, which would be the 36 months of probation. That being said, Judge, and we'd ask that the backup time be the standard sentence. If the court wanted to go with aggravated sentence, you know, and grant her probation, that'd be fine too with us. That being said, Judge, you know, obviously we already talked about all the good things she's done. She's on probation in Lyon County. We're working through the Greenwood County case. We've entered a plea. It's going to be a similar open to argue kind of thing there. I think the good thing about plea to the 3 is because it does put her in the 36-month probation box or level. And I think that's a good thing to have a long period of time where we're gonna, if the court does grant it, to be monitoring. And I think that's very helpful. So, Judge, I would ask that you just grant her probation for 36 months and then assess the whatever backup time the court believes is appropriate.
Very well, Mr. Page. Thank you. I will get to Ms. McKinsey in a moment, but I want to address Teresa Stanfield, who's a representative here from Butler County Community Corrections. Ms. Stanfield?
Yes.
Should this court consider a community corrections alternative in this case, what would the supervision plan be? Would it likely be transferred?
Yes, if she resides in Lyon County, we would be able to transfer her.
All right, very well, thank you. At this time, the court will address the defendant, Jody McKinsey, personally, and I'll ask her if she has any statements that she wishes to make in mitigation of punishment or anything further that she personally would like to present to the court. Ms. McKinsey?
Yes, Judge. Well, Michael's covered a lot of it, and we've sent in a lot of documents and reference letters. I mean, my boss, my sponsor, different corrections officers, not only just from my own. I sponsor people now even. So I have that responsibility, and I'm held as an accountability partner for a lot of other NA people who are going through same situations that I'm going through. It keeps me steady and busy, so boredom doesn't seem to arise at all. My kids are my most important aspect of why I would like to stay out. But the second step to everything else is 9 months and 11 days, honest program, clean right now as of today. And the milestones that you have to go through, going through the clean and sober time. I mean, they teach us in COG classes and in outpatient that 18 months is a baseline. You have to wait till you get to 18 months before you get a baseline of clear-headedness and like when things start settling down in your body. And I keep on going through these situation steps or occurrences with physical and mental issues of being clean and trying to get back to that baseline. And with my sponsor and being able to reach out to Corner House, because I'm an alumni now for them, I wouldn't say enjoy the situation, but I'm enjoying that I have that support to go to. And I know that in prison, it's not going to be there. I'm not going to have anybody there to help me through this or to keep me from going backwards. Being out in the open, I have that accountability. I have the people looking up to me. I have the people I look up to. I mean, I have corrections officers sending me little postcards and stuff saying about how great I'm doing and stuff like that. And from my understanding, they don't do that for a lot of people, and everybody looks up to me. And I don't know, I'm really proud of myself. My family's proud of myself, and everything's just great. Like I couldn't imagine going anywhere else and doing anything else. And even if my probation corrections did not get transferred, I've gone above and beyond in every step of every aspect of every hoop of everything to show the commitment that I have for this. And I would be willing to drive up here every time that I had a meeting if it couldn't be transferred or whatever the deal is. I have no objections to any of it. I am, though, completely accepting my accountability for the situation. I know what I did, and I'm understanding and all that, and I don't hold anybody else accountable besides myself. My addiction, I like to believe, is under control. Like I will always be an addict, and having the support out there with me is what I need. And this is the first time in my life that I've actually worked the program the way it's supposed to be worked and helping others do the same thing. And I mean, I take the kids to my NA meetings at night. They play with other kids. It might not be family by blood, but it's definitely a community that's made me feel stronger and more put together by far. And I can't imagine not having them at this point in time. So, but I thank you for whatever decision you make for today.
Ms. McKinsey, it's my understanding you've already graduated from the segment of the program called outpatient treatment. So what kind of program are you in now?
I go to NA 3 times a week. I am alumni, though, at the outpatient house that I graduated from. So I do attend there once or twice a month, whether it be to check in or just to say hi. I go there more often than just twice, but I go there twice a month, if not just to check on my sponsees, because they still go there to make sure they're being held accountable for showing up and show that I support them and that we should support each other. I also have, I still have a couple more or one more cognitive group at the courthouse that they make us attend through corrections. I've attended 5 of them already. I still have one more, and it's a 3-week program still. And I've attended a 12-week seeking safety program. So corrections keeps me pretty busy, even though my outpatient might be completed. Like I said, the alumni is still there for me. I still attend there. It's just not required, but my presence is still known. And I mean, corrections does keep me pretty busy, though. Their programs seem to never end, and I don't object to it, and it's never a fuss with me. I'm just there, and we do it, and I'm very attentive and very vocal about my problems, and I let everybody know that this is what I'm going through, no matter how embarrassing or ridiculous it may sound or whatever the issue may be. It lets me get it out there so other people hold me accountable, but also to let other people know that it's okay, that this is going to be okay. Like, this is just part of it. Like, you're going to get through it as well as I am.
Okay. Tell me about your work, Ms. McKinsey. Where do you work?
I work at Tyson, the meat packing place or whatever in Emporia. I've been there since November 7th of last year. They are training me right now to be the lead in my area. We had a person quit a couple months ago and I applied for the management support position. Somebody else did get that position, but they feel that since I know the area so well and I have that take charge kind of attitude, I'm a little bossy outside of court, but they are pushing me to take the lead position. It doesn't pay much more, but I don't know, my bossiness is kind of encouraged at that point in time. So it kind of fits my attitude, but I definitely have held it together for 2 months for them since our lead did leave. They just kind of threw me in there. It's like, hey, figure this out. And it's really awesome. Like I even have a support letter from my boss in that paperwork that was given to you. And I mean, she even congratulates me for just how, I don't know, I collaborate with people very well now that I'm not stuck in a corner worried about my addiction and everything. She lets me go to my NA meetings. We have birthday nights every month once we reach our milestones with NA. And she allows me to be absent from work for the first 2 hours so I can attend those, so I can get my little chips and keychains and stuff like that. I'm very vocal with her about situations when they arise. And I don't know, I believe communication is key right now in my life. And I can't be thankful and grateful enough for everything that I've done and everything and everyone that has done it with me.
All right, back to your work situation. And I don't want you to be too graphic in your description when it comes to meat processing. What exactly do you do? What is your department?
We're just in the receiving area.
Okay.
We never get a day off. It doesn't matter if it's a holiday or not. The days we work the plant's never going to be shut down enough for us to have that day off, even though nobody else will be working. We will still be there. We have trucks that come in and we have to receive all the product that comes off there. We have to take inventory. I count inventory. I direct each other coworker that I have, which position they need to go to, how we're going to collaborate together. If somebody calls in, I pick up like the slack on that area, and we all work together very well. It's a lot of receiving products, driving forklifts, and temping and calibrating out, making sure there's no, foodborne issues going on. It's cold. It's really cold. It's awesome though. It's stressful, but it's not stressful enough to where I can't do it. And it pushes me to do anything to relieve my stress, to say the least.
All right. Thank you for that explanation. Pronounced sentence in this case at this time. Court hereby establishes count 1 as the base sentence in this case for the offense of possession of methamphetamine with the intent to distribute, a severity level 3 drug, non-person felony in which the defendant has a criminal history score of E, thus placing her in grid box 3, drug E. The court hereby sentences the defendant to a term of 59 months in the custody of the Secretary of Corrections in the state of Kansas. On this sentence, the defendant may earn up to 20% of good time credit and would be subject to 36 months of post-release supervision. Court has considered but declines to impose a fine in this particular case. Court finds that in grid box 3, drug E, the defendant in this case falls into a presumptive prison category. Ms. McKinsey, the Kansas legislature has determined by their passage of the Kansas Sentencing Guidelines Act which offenders they believe should be in prison as compared to ones that should have a community-based alternative. You fall in the category that the legislature determined should be in prison. As a result of the severity level of your crime and your previous criminal history, there's no doubt that you fall clearly into a presumptive prison category. The court does note that your attorney has filed a motion for a departure sentence, in other words, a special exception to the general rule, and has asked this court to consider a dispositional departure and not follow the legislative intent that you as an offender should be in prison, but rather to give you an opportunity for a community-based alternative. The issue arises in the mind of the court. Are you a good risk to place into the community instead of this court just simply following the legislative direction to just put you in prison? That's what they have decided essentially through their guidelines. However, the courts are empowered to grant these special exceptions, these departures. What you have, Ms. McKinsey, is at least a current realization of the seriousness of where you're at in life. You're literally on the precipice of a high cliff and you're just about ready to fall over. And you're going to fall right into prison, be away from your family for 4 to 5 years if you go in. And I hope that you realize just how serious a position that you've put yourself in. The court's concluded that I think you do. At least today, Ms. McKinsey, you appear to get it. Unfortunately, a lot of people in your situation tell me that they understand the situation they're in and they promise me everything they're going to do. Then just as soon as they leave court, find out that they've been granted a probation sentence, they forget it. And they go right back and backslide and go right back to the people and right back to the life that they had before. I wonder, are you one of those people, Ms. McKinsey? Or are you going to be one of those rare exceptions that separate yourself from that culture and start a whole new life?
I mean, I'm absolutely starting a whole new life. I've moved. I've changed, as they tell you, you got to change your playgrounds, your people, your places. I've moved. I mean, I own my own house. I don't even stay there. I rent a house in Emporia just to defer. I mean, just to get away from anything, any kind of obstacle or setback that could be there. I have completely avoided. I don't really have friends. I have the NA support group, which I would consider friends, but any of my old friends, communication, it's just not there anymore. I coach my kids' teams, or I'm the assistant coach on most of them. They're all in sports. I mean, my middle child, she got 9th in state for track this year. I attend everything at all times. Sometimes even I miss work just to go to their games because I know how much I've missed out on the last couple of years of being addicted to drugs. And I just couldn't imagine, like, I don't know, one of the biggest motivational things that I tell myself all the time, I know that I do it for myself, but it just wouldn't be fair to the kids. And I have the most love I could ever have for anything in my whole life for them. And it's just, I know that I am an exception. I know that I'm smart, and I know that I wouldn't let you down if this was an opportunity that you gave me. I've gone beyond anything that I could understand, and I've done more than anything I've ever done. And I'm proud of myself. And I know that these are things that are, I don't know, obligations, but I look forward to them. Whenever they tell me it's another class, I look forward to it because it's something else I get to learn about myself, some other deep-seated issue that I get to resolve or figure out, or be like, oh yeah, that's why I've been doing this whole time, or that's why you're so angry. Like, I don't know, I enjoy it, and I love the knowledge, and I love figuring it out so I can keep figuring it out and keep knowing what I need to do and what not to do and how to do it. I would really appreciate you accepting me into the community that I've come to become accustomed to now that I am doing everything right.
Ms. McKinsey, I paused for effect, not really because I expected you to give any type of response.
I'm so sorry.
Well, you don't need to apologize. I'm kind of glad that you did, because you just reaffirmed the conclusion this court has already reached, that you deserve another chance.
Thank you.
And this court will grant the motion for a dispositional departure, the court finding substantial and compelling reasons exist to grant this defendant a departure sentence, with the primary focus of the departure based on the fact that this defendant is on a solid path to rehabilitation and recovery, that society's interest would be better served with her in the community rather than a prison sentence. And I think it will promote her reformation to be able to continue the programs that she's already engaged in. And she has solid employment. She has family ties and obligations, all help support that she's a good risk to have another opportunity. So the court does grant the departure motion and grant the defendant an initial term of 36 months of probation to be supervised by community corrections. The court supports transfer and consolidation of supervision to her home county. Conditions of probation will include reporting to an officer as directed, observing all laws. Do we have an issue with the?
Yes, give me 1 second. I will fix it.
Is she not hearing me?
Yes, we can hear you, Your Honor.
Okay. With announcement of probation conditions, the defendant shall abide by any recommendations from her alcohol and drug counselors regarding rehabilitation, education, or aftercare. She shall not possess or consume alcohol or illegal drugs, especially methamphetamine, while on probation. At her ISOs and at her own expense, she shall submit to random breath, blood, and urinalysis testing, perform community service work pursuant to program requirements, gain and maintain employment successfully throughout her probationary term, notify her ISO within 48 hours of any change in her employment, residence, telephone number, or email address. She shall continue to register as an offender pursuant to the Kansas Offender Registration Act until her 15-year registration requirement is completed. Abide by any curfew or travel restrictions imposed by her officer. Follow all standard conditions of probation. Not have in her possession firearms or dangerous weapons, and avoid disreputable characters or places. Ms. McKinsey, I say that in every case, and I think it goes right over most defendants' heads when I say you're not to be around disreputable characters or places. I think you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
In other words, disreputable characters is anybody who would expose you to illegal drugs, especially methamphetamine. They're not your friend. And those are particularly the kind of disreputable characters I want you to stay away from. Now, I do understand that in a treatment and rehabilitation setting, everybody's going to have some sort of problem like that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the people on the street. You need to stay away from them like you have been and continue the new life that you've started. You also need to make monthly payments on your obligations, Ms. McKinsey, in a manner acceptable to the court. I will be assessing a felony docket fee, felony probation fee, community corrections fee. Since this is a downward departure, the court finds that community corrections placement is obviously appropriate. There will be a $400 restitution amount owed to the KBI laboratory. Court will be assessing a bids application fee of $100 for her previous appointed counsel services, but will waive any legal fees connected with that end of the representation. Mr. Sweeney, before I go any further, are you aware of any other cost matters that I should be addressing?
No, Your Honor.
All right, I will continue then. Ms. McKinsey, since you're working at a meat packing facility, I'm contemplating that you pay $100 a month. Can you commit to that on this case?
Yes, I can. I currently have what's it called? Where they automatically take it out of your check right now.
Okay.
Garnishment. That's the word I'm looking for. Right now they're doing a garnishment, but yes, I can commit to that.
Okay. That'll start in August and every subsequent month until you get paid in full. Okay.
Yes, sir.
If your conditions allow you to pay more, I suggest you do that. So $100 a month starting August. In the face sheet of the pre-sentence report, it does not appear she has any previous jail time credit to awards. The court will not award any in this case. I will remind you once again, Ms. McKinsey, about the Kansas Offender Registration Act. You need to make sure you stay on top of all requirements. A violation of that act very well could lead to further action on your sentence in this case.
Yes, I have a 3 o'clock appointment with him today, actually.
Good. At some point in the future, you may have the right to seek expungement of this offense. Certain statutory limitations do apply. If you have any questions about your right to someday seek expungement, you can address those questions to a lawyer, and I'm sure get your questions answered. You may, under certain limited circumstances, have the right to appeal your conviction to an appellate court having jurisdiction. If you're unable to pay the cost of an appeal, you, the defendant, may request the court to appoint a lawyer to represent you on appeal, and that you be supplied with a transcript of trial court proceedings. Pursuant to KSA 22-3608C, you, the defendant, have 14 days after this judgment in court to file any notice of appeal with the clerk of the district court of Butler County, Kansas. You do have the right to appeal this sentence if this court has ruled adversely to you at this hearing. I will remind you that there are prohibitions against a convicted felon possessing a firearm, and that there are losses of certain civil rights, such as the right to vote, until your sentence is fully discharged. I will announce for the record that the sentence imposed here today does run consecutively to Greenwood County case number 2021 CR 34, as this crime was committed while on felony bond in that case. Mr. Sweeney, I'm looking at my notes and I don't see that there is another sentencing related matter I need to address. Are you aware of anything?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Stanfield, does your department need any clarification regarding the court sentencing orders?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Page, anything further that we need to address here?
No, Judge, thank you.
Ms. McKinsey, last but not least, do you have questions regarding the court's sentencing rulings here this morning?
No, sir.
Jody, I would like you to be one of these 100% successful probationers whose sentence I never have to review, and that someday I just get this order from Community Corrections with a successful discharge and closing your case. I hope I get one of those on you. Just continue doing what you're doing, and I have every reason to believe that that'll be the next paperwork that I see on you. Good luck in that regard.
Thank you, Judge.
That's good. Thank you, Judge.
All right. Teresa, do you have any direction that you need to give Jody regarding getting started on this case on Community Corrections?
Yes, Your Honor. Do you have a piece of paper and pen?
Yeah.
Okay, if you could contact Ed Ketley, Ketley, after 1 p.m. today, and he's here till 5 o'clock. He can set up an appointment with you and get you going on probation.
Okay, and what's the phone number to that?
Oh, I'm sorry, 316
Mhm.
321 6303.
Okay, I will do that.
Thank you, Ms. Stanfield. I appreciate that. Thank you to the Sally Port for their accommodation of the sentencing this morning.
You're welcome.
There's nothing further then.
Thank
The
you.
Jody McKinsey matter will currently be in recess, and the meeting may be